Winning for me is measured in my work corporately and in the world of sports is for every individual that I've been given the blessing of the opportunity to spend time with, to learn from, to grow with, is for that individual to be able to look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, today I gave it my very best. If you could start living your life, and maybe you already do this, every day, just one time per day, you get to the end of the day and you look in that mirror and you say, today I gave it my very best. Not this is what I sold, this is what the company did, this is the revenue we generated. No. I gave it my very best. If you can do that, nobody can ever take that away from you, and you can never ask any more of yourself than your very best one day at a time. And I promise you, if you create a standard that you choose to live to, from consistent discipline and action in how you show up, a byproduct will be winning at very high levels. I want to ask for you to be courageous with yourself right now. Give yourself permission to be vulnerable and courageous with yourself. You just wrote down the single most important daily discipline for you to say you've given it your very best. People often ask me, we're going to walk through this, they say, what makes the greatest great? What makes the highest performers perform at those high levels? What's the difference for the highest performers in the world? And I say this very humbly, but I've had the opportunity to work with some pretty amazing performers. From Super Bowl champions to Hall of Famers to national champions to some of the fastest growing companies in the United States, billion-dollar construction companies that I'm with every single month. I've seen at the highest possible level success, no seduction of success. The highest performers are not seduced by success. If you were to come to me to Alabama, Coach Saban this year, he had us take it to another level. So I've always been, 3 years is my fourth year, but now we developed a full mental conditioning for success program. That's what we did the last 3 days. And the common overarching umbrella that I shared with Coach Saban that I wanted to really instill in the players is don't be seduced by success. So are you maybe a 6.9 because you've said the 805% growth that we've had since we all joined the inner circle collectively, which is absolutely amazing. It's enough. Let me pull back just a little bit. What part of, help me understand this, what part of one day at a time I want you to look in the mirror and say you gave it your best? What part of, am I asking too much of you to say one time per day, I just want you to look in the mirror and say, you gave it your best. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Stop comparing yourself to somebody else. Measure yourself on what your best looks like. Am I asking too much of you to do that? What part of did you give it your best today has anything to do with complacency or the growth is okay, so I'm just going to move back a little bit? Why stop the momentum you're creating? You're at 805% growth and you're like scratching the surface. One of the greatest attractions that you can have as a leader is living your life on fire. Living your life in such a way that you appreciate the gift you've been given of every single day. And so for me, I think of that tombstone and say, how could I waste a day? What's your perspective? And is your number a reflection that maybe you're letting some days slip away? And when we do that, we have to ask ourselves, am I being an example of the people that I've been given the gift to lead? Because your example of how you show up is what other people see. For those of you that have children, how you show up in your life is an example of how your children are going to go live in the world. I don't want to get political, but there's an issue that's very important to me because of my work in sports, and everybody wants to point fingers and do this. Social injustice needs to change in this damn country. You know what the problem is? It's what's being taught in somebody's house. Some of the nastiness that we see in this world is a reflection of no love in the world. People aren't born to think nasty thoughts. People are taught nasty thoughts. We have to choose to live in such a way that's going to make the world a better place to live in. I'm not just here to talk to you guys about making money. This is about you being an example of what it means to be the very best you for every little person that's watching, just like I was a little boy watching how my mother showed up. And until we start taking personal responsibility for ourselves, how's our company going to change and how's the world going to change?